All right, so we're talking about goal setting and forecasting business planning for 2025. So this is going to be a fun day. I'm going to share my screen and kind of walk you through this. But here's the thing that I want to remind you guys about goal setting is it's kind of like going on vacation with no plan, no reservation, no map. I can honestly tell you, I just did this for the first time ever in my life back in January when actually I left February 5th. But as I retired from my previous career and before I embarked on my third career in my life, I decided my husband and I would go across the country. And so we had no reservations. Didn't know where we were going. We just kind of said, we're going to go this way. We started in Mardi Gras, worked our way across the country. And it was very fun, but I'd be lying if I told you it wasn't a little stressful, right? And so I kind of relate that trip to goal setting and business planning. You don't know if we're not focusing on something, we're kind of like, floundering really with no direction. So as we go through these exercises today, I want you to mark up the forms that you have. I know Kevin and his crew will get you guys another set of forms, but make some notes on these pieces of paper. So as you go home and you have some time to, reflect and kind of regroup, you're probably going to have some changes from what you write initially, but I want to walk you through the process, make sure you understand it. A couple of things I want to remind you about goal setting. Sometimes when I do this with people, they're like, well, I need these big, hairy, audacious goals and I'm going to double my income. And I don't want to rain on your parade, but that doesn't always happen in the first 12 months, right? Our big, hairy, audacious goals are for 3 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road. That's kind of like part of the big vision that we talked about last month. But we got to start small. We got to focus small. So when we go through these, don't make your goals so daunting that they makes you miserable every time you look at them. Like, I can't do that because I got to work. I can't live that way because I got to work. That's not what goals are for, right? So I want to make sure that you know that the goals are to stretch you a little bit and to help you achieve what you want, but they don't have to be daunting. The other thing that I want to say is sometimes we put a goal down and we suffer from fatigue or exhaustion around them. And that usually tells me that that was somebody else's goal for you. That was not your goal. So, if somebody's got put a chip on your shoulder that you can't do something and you put the goal out there on their behalf, don't. I'm telling you, you will be miserable through the process. Make these your goals. These are not someone else's, okay? If you're really going to live true and authentic to your true self, for those of you that have been reading my book and reaching out to me, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it. I'm grateful for it. If you are reading it, I will take a review on Amazon, good or bad, on the author page when you want to. But thank you for reaching out and letting me know that you're reading it. But if you're truly going to create your true self, then these goals should be who you want to become and that align with your true self, not someone else. Okay. People are going to put labels on us. People are going to put us in boxes or try to give us boundaries. It's not about them. It's about you. Okay. So as we go through this exercise today, when we get to the goal sheet, I'm going to ask you a lot of deep questions like, why is that important to you? Why does that matter? You should ask yourself 3 why questions for every goal. Because I can tell you for years and years, I'm like, I want to grow by 10%. I want to grow by 10%. I want to grow by 10%. Well, why? Why was the 10% important to me? Because somebody arbitrarily gave me that number and that's just what I did. And it got to the point where, you know what? I'm okay if I grow by 1%. If I make 1 dime more this year than I made last year, then I've had my best year ever. Okay. So the why will be super, super important. All right. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. The first sheet that we are going to go through is going to be your forecast. Now, I firmly believe that you cannot get where you're going until you know where you're at. And if you've not been through a business forecast for any of your years in career, real estate, whatever, this is where you're going to start. So we're going to assess where we are currently, and then we're going to grow on that for what we want. And then we're going to create some goals today with some action items tied to them. And then I'm going to give you a couple little homework assignments at the end. And remember, your loan officer that invited you to this event, A, they're giving you a free service, but B, they're here to be an accountability partner for you. So as you go through this, you call them and say, hey, I want to sit down and have a cup of coffee. I want you to hold me accountable, or I need your help, or I really don't know how this is going to happen. What have you seen your other real estate partners do in the past? Because guys, they are here to hold your hand and hold you accountable and to help you have your best year ever. If you are partnering with a top loan professional, as you are at Lending Hand, both of you can grow your businesses when we just communicate and work together. Okay, so let's dig in. Business forecast 2025. You will see at the top it says a year in review. So where are we for 2024? Let's assess this. Now, the top line says my 2024 estimated taxable income. The reason I've given you the cheater notes underneath each one of these is because most of us, which is okay, may have came out of corporate America where we're a W-2 employee. And if I'm being honest, and we were in a room together live, I would make all of you raise your right hand and say that we all agree that the number on the 1099 is crap, because the 1099 doesn't mean anything, right? It's not how much we make, it's how much we keep, okay? So this first number is your taxable income. That means take the commission that you received from your broker, subtract out their fee, the expenses to pay taxes, okay? I haven't paid the taxes yet because this is taxable income. So total gross commission minus the fee the broker got minus my expenses. That's what I'm going to pay taxes on out of that one check. Okay. Now you want to do that for the whole year. So if your check stub or whatever you have says I made 100, then you know out of that your split was XYZ, you take that part out, and then your average expenses are XYZ per month. You're going to take that amount out, and that's the number that you want to plug in right here. Okay. The reason I don't take you all the way down to taxable income is because there's so many factors. If you have a spouse or partner or significant other and you combine your incomes, you go in different tax brackets, or you have some rental properties, you write off some expenses, whatever. So I'm just trying to help you get to the true money that you get to make, and that is your estimated taxable income. Okay. Your next one is total units closed for the year. I do not include leases here because it really will skew your numbers if you just get a couple $100 or whatever versus commission. So I just do true closed transactions. Now, we get all sideways as realtors because, you know, I am one of y'all, so I can pick on myself. But one of the things that we have to remember is a lot of times we're like, well, we double-sided it. Is that 2 transactions? Well, if you earn 2 commissions, then that's 2 transactions. That's the way I look at it. Okay. Number 3, net income per transaction. So I want you to take your total from that first line up there and divide it by the number of units, number 2, and that's going to tell you on average what you're netting per transaction after the split to the broker and after your expenses before taxes. Okay. All right. Number 4 is average sales price for the year. So we're going to take our total closed volume. We're going to divide that by the number of closings on number 2, and you're going to get your average sales price. Okay. I love when people say, well, I had a big deal, or I had a little lot. It's okay. These are estimated numbers. All right. And then number 5 is really, really, really important, because as we go through the next 11 months together, one of the things that we're going to work on is finances. And unfortunately, for each of us in the industry, that is not something that our industry focused on when we got our license. So a lot of people get in trouble, myself included. You guys heard that if you were with us at the City Winery, spent over $40,000 a month on expenses before I made a dime, right? And the sad part was everybody was coming to me and I didn't need to spend a dime. So what we have to do on this number 5 is you have to break down where your deals are coming from, so you know where to focus your energy and your money as we move through these next 11 months. All right. So starting with your database, how many deals did you close from there? Now, what I mean by the next little bullet point under there is your percentage. If we closed 9 deals and 3 of them came from our database, and that means 33% of our deals came out of our database. Okay. It's really simple. All right. The next one is your key influencers. You guys really don't know what key influencers are yet. You will in a couple months, but I'm going to explain it to you really quickly, and then we'll go super in depth when we have this session in a couple months. But your key influencers are people that have the opportunities to refer you multiple times. So these would be builders, developers, investors, people who buy multiple properties from you. These are going to be our key influencers. I really want you to know how many of those people you have gotten closings from this year. Okay. And then what that percentage is. And then the last one down there is cold lead source. I mentioned to you guys before, I don't buy cold leads, but that doesn't mean I didn't get cold leads. So an ad, a call on a sign, a call on an ad, a walk-in at an open house, those are all cold leads in my opinion. If you buy leads from any source, that would be a cold lead as well. So I want to know what the percentage of each one of those groups are from where your closings came from this year. Okay. Now that we've established that at the top, now we've got to start thinking about our growth for next year. And most of us would say, I'm going to double my income, or I just want to do 2 more deals or whatever. I want you to figure out what that percentage is. And so the first question down there is, I will grow my percentage by blank percent. Do you want to grow it by 1% or 2% or 5%? Whatever that number is, this is yours. And the reason we establish that is because as we walk through the rest of this, we know we've got to grow the numbers at the top by that percentage. Now, here's something that I will tell you. My sales career started in Smyrna, Tennessee in 1997. The average sales price was primarily starter homes, if anybody knows that Rutherford County market very well. And so my average sales price was like $87,000. Now, some of you are like, holy cow, I wouldn't roll out of bed to buy, to sell that. I get it. Today, I wouldn't probably either. Most of us would drive cars that cost more than $87,000. But when I started talking about percentage of growth, what I realized is I still only have 2 hands and I still only have about 10 or 12 hours in the day. So I wanted to grow my percentage, but I had to start branching out into other counties where I could move my sales price up and still do the same number of transactions, because we all have a ceiling, you guys. We all have the same hours in the day. So by saying I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow, make sure that you understand that doesn't always have to be about units. Right? And that's why I have you look at your sales price and your commissions. If right now you're averaging $6,500 a deal and you want to move that to $7,000 a deal, what would that sales price be? And that's your percentage of growth. Does that make sense to everybody? Those of you I can see, can you give me a thumbs up if that makes sense? Yes. Okay. Thank you. So that's the key. That percentage is on what you want to grow your income. And then we're going to back into it with those very same questions that we answered at the top. So as I mentioned, if you're going to grow your sales price, maybe your units don't change, but your average sales price is going to change. Then you can back into the action items of how that will happen. Maybe I'm going to do a geographic farm into a higher price neighborhood to get some new listings at that higher price. Is this making sense to everyone? Yes. Okay, good. All right. So we're going to grow by the percentage. We've got our taxable income will be. So if we are on track to make 100 this year and we want to grow by 10%, then we're going to go to 110 next year. Okay. That is how much per month. Remember, what you focus on happens, but if you just put a 110 number out there and you have a bad month, you know what happens? We go, oh shoot, I'm never going to get that. I'm already I'm already off track, right? So if we simplify it and we bring it down by the monthly goals, you're more inclined, if you have a bad month, you can make up a few $1,000s somewhere else down the road. Okay. All right. Total number of units closed. Again, this is based on you and your numbers. Do you want to do less deals or the same amount of deals? You just want to raise the sales price. And how many is that per month? Number 4, your net income per transaction. Remember, your cheater sheet for what that net number is up top. And then your average sales price. Again, if you want to bump that up a hair. Your goal for leads generated every month. This will be a struggle for some of you that don't track your leads. That is okay. Okay. It's time to start. All right. The hardest part for us is leads come at us. Maybe if you're already doing several transactions a month, you have a great database and the deals just fall in your lap. I can tell you what not to do. When I got into coaching, they were asking me how many leads I generate a month. And I'm like, I don't know. I just have the sticky note system. You know, the greens are the buyer leads, the yellow are the listing leads. They just keep coming. I don't ask questions, right? That's how I got myself spending $40,000 a month on things I didn't need because I did not track them. But more importantly, when you start tracking your leads, where are they coming from? So we can focus on it, yes. But secondly, what's your conversion rate? I hear people say to me all the time, I generate 100 leads a month. And I'm like, why do you generate 100 leads a month if your goal is only 5 deals, right? Either you're talking to the wrong people or you're saying the wrong thing. Because as salespeople, if we know our closing conversion rate, maybe we don't need to spend that much money, or maybe we don't need that many leads because we're a pretty daggum good closer. If we just got in front of 10 really good leads and we knew what to say, we could convert 50% of them, right? So I highly recommend, and as we get in this transaction, or as we get in this series, you will hear me talk about tracking your leads, and I will share some forms with you all about that. But you need to create some kind of form where you track every lead that comes in. It's okay if it's a dead lead, just draw a straight line through it, right? It's okay if you haven't ever done it in the past. Get a notebook, a spiral notebook, and write on the front, lead tracker. Every time you get a lead, write it on a piece of paper in there. Where did it come from? Who's the referral partner? All their wants and needs. If it dies on the vine, they can't qualify, whatever, draw a straight line through it and keep on going through the notebook. By the end of the year, you could count, hey, I had 100 leads this year and I had 20 closings, so I'm a 20% conversion rate realtor. Wouldn't that be information that you would want to know moving forward? Make sense? Okay. All right. So goals generated. So you're going to have to estimate that if you're currently not tracking it. I would tell you if you're primarily a cold lead business, 3 to 8% conversion. So that tells me if you want to, close 3 deals a month, you're going to have to convert, you're going to have to generate enough leads to convert 3 of them at a 3 to 8%. If you're a warm lead person and most all of your leads come warm, you could go to 50 to 70% conversion rate if you take great care and they have a great experience. Okay. All right. Let's see. We are number 7. Where will your business come from? Same 3 questions that were up at the top are now at the bottom. So how many deals do you want to close out of your database? How many key influencers do you want to close deals from? And how many cold leads do you want? And what's the percentage of those 3? Okay. Now that we've walked through this form, you're going to see at the bottom, it says action plan to succeed. You have to have at least 3 action items every single week around those goals that you want to achieve. So is that a time block for 1 hour every day of outbound calls, generating leads? Is that, knocking doors in a higher end neighborhood once a week? Is that a new geographic farm? I am all about tactics. I will never give you an assignment in the next 11 months that I don't give you a tactic that goes with it. It's not enough to say, I want to move my sales price up. Everybody wants to move their sales price up, right? But how will you do it? Action items matter. Okay. If you have a question about this form, please, please, please put it in the chat. And I promise I will leave a few minutes at the end to make sure I get all your questions answered. Okay. All right. I'm going to close out this form and I'm going to bring up the goal sheet so we can go through. Again, these sheets are for you to make notes because I'm going to give you some homework around how you go put these things into action and what I want you to do moving forward to get it done. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to go back in here to share. If you all knew how much I struggled with technology, you would be laughing over here of me trying to figure all this out. Okay, voila, we can see this, right? New goal sheet. Everybody see this? Okay, good. All right. So as we get ready to set some goals and you make some notes around this, I want to point a couple things out to you. Again, I think a lot of times we set goals based on someone else's expectation of us, or you should grow by this. But I think every year, probably for the last 5 or 6 years, I just came back. I host a women's empowerment retreat twice a year, and I just came back on Sunday. And we worked on our visions and our goal setting. If you follow me on social media, you probably saw those pictures. But I have always, for the last 5 to 7 years, probably 7 to 8 years, picked a word around my goals or around my intention for the year. And I really want you to consider it. I gave you some options at the top. If those are not something that relates to you, or you want to create your own word, go for it. But I can tell you that when you talk about goal setting and you focus on one word, intentional, growth, you see up there direction, action, structure, clarity, and you remind yourself every morning, like I journal on the word a lot. I have it up in my office. So what you focus on matters. So I want you to think about an intentional word, and maybe it is intentional, for 2025. And like I said, if you don't see it up here, pick your own word, but have a word that will relate to you throughout the next year. Okay. All right. So digging in, you will see that you have 4 categories on this form. We have category 1, 2, 3, and 4. And like I said, for years and years, I did goal setting. I would throw things on a piece of page. I would stick them in a drawer. And then in September, I'd pull out my goal sheet and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I've not done any of these. So I'm just going to throw this away and I'll start again in 2026, right? Or the next year. And when I got very intentional about tying a word to my goals and I started really digging into the why, is when my goals started happening. So I'm going to walk you through this and I'm going to give you some challenges around them. So the first one category is future. When you set goals for your future, they can be around your career, they can be around education, they can be around finances. So what do I mean by that? If you look, it says, what is something you want in this area for 2025? I want to save X dollars a month. That's a finance goal. Okay. Now I want you to ask the question, why is that important? I want to send my child to a private school. I want to pay for my child's college. I need to take care of my elderly parents. I'm accumulating wealth for my future. Okay. So whatever that one is. And then the next one down, why? Ask one more why. Well, this is my own personal story, by the way. I wanted to make sure my son could go to college. Money would not be an option because I didn't go to college. That was my why. And my third why, when I went on down, is when he got out of college, I feel like I have given him a prime opportunity to succeed. So those were my whys, right? I wanted to make money to send him to college because I didn't go. I wanted to set him up for success. I wanted him not to have to go through the trials and tribulations. Those were my whys. And so you know what? That happened for us, right? If I would have just said, I want to save money, could I have gone to the greedy side of that? Absolutely. It's human to err, right? So as you go through these things, I really want you to ask yourself why 3 times. And then the final why is what goes in why that's important to you, not the first one. It's really 3 layers deep. Okay. Maybe you want to get your broker's license. Why is that important to you? I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur someday. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Okay, great. What's the next why? I've always wanted to truly be my own boss. Okay, what's the next one? I want to leave a legacy. What's the truth? I want to leave a legacy. Does that make sense? That's why I got my broker's license. Okay. So I want you to walk through these with some time that you can spend alone and really digging into these whys. So when you write your 3 goals down under category 1 and your final why, then I want you to rate just that group there. The 1 would be the most important. 2 would be the one that's pretty important. And the 3 one might be one you could say, this could wait for a year and come back to my goal sheet the next year. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for category 2. Relationships. We are in the relationship-based business. These are any relationships. Spouse, family, friends, clients, employees, team members, whatever it is, right? For me, for years, I just needed a friend that wasn't in real estate because all I knew how to talk about was real estate. Some of you might be able to relate. Why is that important? Because I get tired of talking about real estate, right? I need to join a book club. I need to find a new church group, whatever it is. Look around your relationships. Some of you may need a system around follow up for your clients. You're not in deep enough relationships with the people in your database for them to give you qualified leads. And you need to go back and build a deeper relationship with some of your past clients. If that's the case, then that could be one of your relationship goals for next year. And then why is that important? And what does that look like? And how can you make that happen? Okay. The third one is personal growth. This is all about you. All about you. Faith, fitness, dreams, whatever you want it to be. This is you. This is where you get to be selfish of, hey, I want to lose weight. Okay, well, that's not really a good tangible goal. So let's dial that in a little bit. I want to lose X pounds. Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? When you get to the true meaning of you're fearful about your health, or can you age in place, or whatever it is, that would be your why. Okay. Maybe you need to go take a day vacation by yourself just to get clarity. Maybe you need to set aside an hour a week to be in a book club or a Bible study or, just meditate or go to the park or whatever it is. These are your personal growth. Okay. And then the last one is adventure. Most of us want to do something fun, a hobby, date night, take a trip, experience something. That's your category 4. And for me, I'll be honest, there's usually not very many whys. It's just because I need to go have fun. Most of us need to have a little more fun in our lives. So if you can't get down to 2 or 3 whys on that, it's okay. All right. So now we technically have 12 potential goals on this piece of paper. Okay. I don't know that any of you have time to focus on 12 goals. So I give you permission to take your top 8 to the next sheet. This is technically your goals with your action step sheet. This is the one you're going to post in your office, on your mirror, have it in your car. This is the one you're really going to be honest and open about what you really want. Okay. So you're going to go back to that previous page and we're going to look at what did we rate goal number 1 and goal number 2 right here. And then we're going to pull those over to your sheet right here, goal 1. And then you need 1 to 3 action items of how will that happen. So in the previous scenario, I gave you about finances and, I want to save X dollars per month. How will I do that? Maybe it starts out with, I will cut $100 a month out of my budget to go to my savings account. That's a tangible item, right? Maybe that's action item 1. Action item 2, maybe I'm going to look for a bank account that yields me a higher return of investment, higher interest rate. Maybe go to a different bank if I could do that. Research that. That would be step number 2, right? Action steps. The broker scenario that I gave you, which is exactly how I got my broker's license. If that's something you want, is register for a broker class, time block 1 hour every other day for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 months or whatever to make sure that you're studying to be prepared to take the test, and you have to take the test on or before whatever that date is. Those are action items. You guys following me with that? Can you give me a thumbs up? Yay. Okay, good. All right. You're going to do the same thing with category 2, and you're going to do the same thing with category 3, and you're going to do the same thing with category 4. Okay. I promise you, if you will slow down and spend a little time with yourself and then open up your calendar and block some time with these action items, what you put on this paper will happen. I coach a lot of people around the country and I hear a lot of excuses, and it's usually when we dig in, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? I go in 3 deep. It's usually because I'm burned out, or I did not put those on my time block schedule, or I didn't ask for help, or I didn't adjust my sales. Guys, this year's been tough for you guys that are in the sales. I mean, with all the changes and all the negative publicity and election, all of that, I get it. And if you have done the work every single week, like you promised yourself you would, and you don't get the outcome, It's a heck of a lot better to give yourself grace there than it is to not hit a goal and look back and say, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I quit on myself. And then you get to bring that goal forward with a little bit of hesitation that, will I do it this year? I'm not going to ask anybody to raise your hand, but I will tell you, I have done that many times. The market stinks. There's an election. The rates are too high. I made excuse after excuse. But when I really sat down with myself and said, did I do what I should have done to make that successful goal happen? And I have to look at myself in the mirror and be honest, it's usually no. So as you set some time aside over the next couple weeks between now and the end of the year and really dig into your numbers, the reason I don't have you do this on this call, like get it done, finish it, go home, laminate it, is because some of you may not have those numbers. You need to go do your homework. And I would rather you take the time and get the numbers accurately. So when you post it, they are good and ready and accurate, and you're ready to rock and roll by the end of the year. Okay. All right. So we're going to actually do this time. You're going to set some time aside. That's homework assignment number 1. I want quiet time blocked in your schedule to go somewhere quiet. You can go to your bonus room. You can go to the park, although it's cold there. I'm sorry, it's not cold here. I'm coming there tonight. I'm like, ooh, I don't like packing to come where it's cold. But set some time aside and get out of your office. Get out of your comfort zone, right? Go to a coffee shop, go to the library. If it warms up over the next few weeks, go sit at the park, go sit in your car somewhere, right? Some quiet time to really dig into what you want, finalize this, and then I'm going to give you some more action items. We've reserved the time, we've created the goals. Be realistic. When you go back through those goals, hold yourself accountable, or get with your loan officer at Lending Hand and help them hold you accountable. Are these tangible? The who, the what, the when, the where, the why, or is it kind of like, I just want to lose weight? Be honest with yourself, okay? If you need to expand your knowledge for any of these goals, get that on your calendar first. Don't wait till September to say, oh, now I'm going to take the broker class, rush through it, not give it your all in case something happens. Listen, the more we procrastinate, the further we kick that can down the street, the more frustrated we get, not only with ourselves, but other people, because we know we're not doing what we promised ourselves we would do. So if you know you need some knowledge, hire somebody. If it's a financial consultant, if it's schedule your broker class, if it's, you need some help with social media or technology. God knows I always need help with that. Find somebody, get it scheduled sooner than later. I want you to take a hard look at the people around you. Do you surround yourself with the people that will help you hit your goals? Are you in the right space? That's a key to making goals happen. Not letting anybody rain on our parade, right? Are your goals true to who you are or who you want to become? That's a big question you need to ask yourself. Are these goals a reflection of who I am or who I want to become? Okay. All right. That's all about the goal setting. Now I've got a few more pointers for you, and then I'm going to make sure I got all your questions answered. One of the things you will learn about me is I love to start on time and I love to end on time. So I will do my best of always getting in here on time and getting you out on time. I know Kevin has other things for you there, but I don't ever want to disrespect your time. So, all right, steps to have your best year ever. Let me give you a couple pointers. Number 1, you need an accountability partner. Who is it going to be? It's going to be your broker. Is it going to be your spouse? Is it going to be your loan partner? Are you in business with a business partner? You guys are going to hold each other accountable. Make sure that you identify that person. You have a conversation with them and you give them a copy of your goal sheet. Number 2, block on your schedule every single month to revisit your goals and your action items. Things change. We get distracted. It's very easy when you miss one appointment with yourself to miss the second one and the third one, and before you know it, you're very derailed. So I want you to revisit that schedule every single month. Once you have finalized your goals, you can type them, you can write them in pretty colored markers. I'm a colored marker girl because I'm a visual learner. How many of you are visual learners? Learn by visually seeing things? Most of us, right? So whatever you want to do, mine are all color coded. If it's something for me, it's purple because that's my favorite color. If it's money goal, it's written in green. If it's things I don't really like, but I know I have to do, then it's in red. So I just play a game with myself. Make it so you will pay attention to it, whatever that game is, okay? Once you've written your copy, I want you to make 3 copies, okay? And then I want you to laminate. Laminate 3 copies of your goals. I want them posted in 3 places. Where you work, where you get ready in the morning, whether it's your mirror or your closet or wherever you get ready. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but one in your car. A lot of you spend a lot of time in your car. We're in traffic, we're stuck in a wreck, and we're like, oh, we'll get on Facebook. I'm going to encourage you to pull out your goal sheet and visit with that. Like, is there somebody on this sheet I'm supposed to be calling monthly? Let me call them right now. Am I supposed to be setting appointments instead of scrolling through social? Let me make that call right now, right? 3 copies of them where you will see them so you can focus on them absolutely all the time. All right, and my last homework assignment for you is this. I want you to write a letter to yourself as if today is 12/31/25. What happened? What are you celebrating? Did you accomplish all the goals? What are you, who are you surrounded with? What age are you right now? What are you proud of? What were your surprises? Guys, I have done this for years, and it is so fun to pull that letter out. You type it, you write it, you stick it away, and put a reminder on your calendar on December 31st to pull out that letter. And if you want to read it with your loved ones, read it with your loved ones. If you just want to read it with yourself, just read it with yourself. But I can tell you, every year I read it, and there are some things that happen on that letter, and then there are some things that don't. But I am proud of the effort that I put in. I get to celebrate some victories. And if I fall short on something, it just goes on my goal sheet for the next year. It's not to beat yourself up, but it is very fun to give yourself a love note at the end of the year after you have busted your tail and worked with the crappy, non-appreciative clients that we get occasionally, or to break records or make more money than you even thought possible, and to celebrate those victories. So that is primarily how I've done goal setting for years and years. I love having the copies. I love doing this in quiet time by myself. I love digging into the why. I think it puts a purpose behind it. I'm more inclined to work harder to hit my goals if I really know the why behind it. And remember, you have so many people surrounding you with your partnerships, with your lender in your office, your brokers, if you have business partners that you can sit down. You can do this as a business planning with some of your key people in your life, your children, your family, your spouse, grown children. My son would tell you that, and he works at GNR, some of you know him. He would tell you he had goals setting, painted, taped on his mirror until he finally went away to college. He's like, I can't do this anymore, Mom. But listen, he got pretty much everything he ever wanted out of life because we did goal setting. And I think it's great to teach our kids this, right? There's enough bad things coming at them or distractions that we need to help them in these arenas too. So that is the worksheets. I want to go open the chat and see. And if you guys have questions from the floor, or if you're muted and you want to unmute yourself and ask me a question, I'm fine with that too. Anybody have any questions for me?
So I know you kind of talked about setting realistic goals, but what if when you go through the months and you realize that you're not hitting those goals, is it okay to refocus those goals and say, okay, well, let's downgrade it just a little bit?
100%. Adjust the sails. I talk about goal setting being like a sailboat. If any of you have ever sailed, listen, most of us go out thinking the wind's coming from here, but what happens? Sometimes the wind comes from the front, and you have to adjust the sail, and you have to turn the rudder, and you have to move the boat in a different direction. That's okay. And you can do that when you're visiting these goals every single month. What happens is for a lot of us in the past, myself included, I would write the goals, stick them in the drawer, and then I wouldn't pull them out till the end of the year. And it gave me permission to quit on them. If you're revisiting them and you're 3 or 4 months in and you're like, hey, I was a little over ambitious, or something in my life has happened and it's different than it was the day I said it, make that adjustment now so you can start having victories. Because listen, nobody wants to go through the year, I lost another month, I didn't hit my goals. I mean, we're just beating ourselves up. There's no sense in that. These are your goals. So make your little tweaks and adjust them as you go. But you won't do that if you're not visiting them every month. So that's the purpose of that for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to ask you another
Go for it.
question. Is it okay to share? Obviously, we're putting it in places, these goals in places that it might be seen by family members. Is it okay to share often with your family members, hey, these are my goals for the year? Maybe, even if they're not your accountability partner?
I don't think I could live my life if I didn't share my goals with my spouse, because here's the thing, if he's going this direction and I'm going this direction, how do we ever get back together, right? So we don't have to be 100% aligned. I mean, he does things, he takes a guy's trip, I get to take a girl's trip. He has visits with my son, I get to have different visits. It's okay to have different goals and ambitions, right? He's been retired for several years, but I wouldn't get to do what I get to do if he wasn't here manning the home fire. Like I leave this afternoon, I don't come back till next Tuesday. Thank God there's somebody here doing that. So his goals are very different than mine, but I want him to know my goals and my plans. So when I say, hey, I'm leaving for a week, he's not like, what? You're leaving again? Right? He understands. So I think that absolutely I would share. And that's why I said you could even do these with a spouse or a partner and come together and share so you can support each other. Right? I think it's absolutely mandatory to do that.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
That put everybody to sleep? Yes.
And I know maybe talk about this a little bit. Goal setting and then reaching those goals is sometimes it's daunting. Like it's a lot of work. I know we go through this all the time. Each and every one of you go through the process of setting these goals. And, when you become accountable to yourself, it takes a lot of effort. And sometimes we get tired. So can you talk briefly on maybe if we do get a little bit weary, what you would recommend, maybe give some advice to them?
Yes. So I think you guys, the main thing is if you're really weary, it's usually because you're not hitting the goals more than you are hitting the goals, because most of us are getting, excited on dopamine when it kicks in, we get to celebrate. So I want to the last thing on my paper says failure is not final. Have the courage to get back up and continue again. So that's my very final thing on my piece of paper here. So failure is not final. So just what Kevin was saying, if you're struggling a little bit, adjust the sails. I will tell you, I'm a big podcast listener and I only listen to positive ones. So I like when somebody has had some hardships, just listening to did they read a book? Did they get in their faith? Did they start journaling? I'm a huge advocate for journaling, pumping myself up like, you're enough, you got this, go back in the fire, you're tougher than this, don't quit. I mean, I write letters like that to myself. Okay, you guys, I know I might be a little weird, but that's how I get up and keep going. So I think find something that motivates you. And a lot of times the other thing is when we start giving everybody the best of us and we take the leftovers is when we get discouraged. So remember to protect yourself and protect your own peace first, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So find the spot where you can pour into yourself every day, whether it's in the gym or faith or whatever, and then go out there and conquer the world. But don't give yourself what's left. I think that's where the weariness comes. So find somebody that you can follow that keeps you pumped up. Find an activity that really keeps you moving forward. And if you need to make an adjustment, and don't beat yourself up. It is absolutely okay to adjust.
Thank you. Kendra, Danielle asked, do you have a podcast that you would suggest?
I'll tell you who I listen to. I listen to Ed Milet. I listen to Mel Robbins. I listen to Jamie Kerr-Lima. I listen to Amberly Largo. I listen to John Gordon, who wrote The Energy Bus and a million other books that you've probably read that you don't realize. Those are the 5 I primarily listen to, and they all do individual things, but then they also interview some amazing humans. And quite honestly, I found Amberly from Ed. I found Mel from somebody sent me a book and then started listening to her podcast. And then John Gordon, I've read his books and followed him for a year. His wife, Kathy, has a wonderful podcast as well. And then Amy P. Kelly, who co-wrote the book, Difficult Conversations Don't Have to Be Difficult with John Gordon. She is a wonderful podcast as well, her and her partner, business partner. They have a wonderful women's podcast. So, figure out what you like. I mean, I know there's tons of people that love like 75 hard. That's not for me. I'm pretty disciplined on a daily basis, but that guy that started that program has a wonderful, following. If you're into workout and fitness, you could follow him, but find somebody that really resonates with you. And follow them, read their books. And listen, we don't have to sit down and read a book every day. You can read 3 to 5 pages a day and pick up a nugget that can take you through a day or a week or whatever. Same thing with the podcast. I usually listen to them in the morning when I'm getting ready. When I get out of the shower, I turn them on, and I might get half in today and half in tomorrow. Depends on if I'm wearing a ponytail or curling my hair, right? It just wherever I can fit in. So those are some that I listen to.
Great. Any other questions? No questions. I will tell you, if you guys want a really good one, Cassie and I, we were in New Orleans for a conference, and we listened to Ed Milet. We had never heard of really ever before. And if you guys want a real treat, I'll bring in this one. It's like a 1-hour session. But if you guys are ready to define your life and find your purpose, this 1 hour is like the best 1 hour that you'll ever spend in your entire life. So if you want or you guys are interested, I'll play it here for the entire, like, you guys come here and we'll do it an hour before or do an hour after. It is amazing. Like, it's giving me goosebumps right now just thinking about that hour that I spent in this room with Ed Milet. But yeah, we'll if you guys are ever interested, just let me know. Any other questions? Debbie? MYLET. Is it 2 T's or 1 T?
It's 2. It's 2.
Yeah. Amazing. This guy came from nothing, absolutely nothing. And this guy is a rock star. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author. He's amazing. So
yeah, just so you guys know, he's offering the slogan is max out, Ed Milet is, and he's written several books, The Power of One More and blah blah blah. But to come see him live, $19,500 for a ticket for 1 day from 10 to 6. So that if you want to come learn from a guy who gets to charge $20,000 an hour, I would take Kevin up on coming to listen to this guy. He is super impactful.
You will cry.
Yeah.
You will cry. I promise you, you will be crying. So just a reminder, it's the second Tuesday of every month at 10 a.m. Okay, we'll be hosting it here at our office. You'll also have the ability to do it virtually, but there's just something special when you come together and we can do this together as a team.
Yes, and next month you'll get my video, but let me see what our topic is for next month. I'm looking it up real quick.
And I'm sorry, Kendra, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say December is database. So we're gonna really be digging into how to manage the database, what information you need, not your average database work skills, but I'll give you guys some tactics around how to stay in touch with them, ideas on how to get more referrals from them, some scripts. And so we'll really dig into your database next month. So you'll be ready to hit the ground running in January.